So we're gonna go ahead and, oops.
Yeah, Tom is ready.
Okay, go ahead and start the board of directors regular meeting for Estes Park. Start out with public comment. You can state your name and address. We'll allow 3 minutes for each comment. Seeing none. Going for reports. We'll have first our Rocky Mountain National Park update with Ms. Cowper.
Hello everyone, how are you? Happy September.
Yeah.
Just have some general things, and mainly why I'm here is to answer any questions or have any conversations about things like e-bikes. I think you all have gotten most of our updates via email, but I'll just kind of cover a couple of them. Our July visitation, as you saw, was up 0.5% from July of last year. It's all relative, as we talk about here, 40% from up from July of 2014. And July is our busiest month of the year. So this July we saw about 970,000 visitors. We should see our August figures in a couple of weeks. As far as Labor Day, I did look at just kind of our Labor Day numbers, and we're very similar to what we were last year. That's kind of what you all are thinking as well. In 2019, we had 29,116 vehicles, and then last year, during the same time period, we had 31,999 vehicles. So we're talking about 2,000 vehicles difference. That's just at our main entrances, so Grand Lake entrance, Fall River entrance, and Beaver Meadows entrance. That does not count folks in all of our other areas, which, as we know, are also very highly visited. Places like Lumpy Ridge Trailhead, Lily Lake, Longs Peak, and Wild Basin in particular. Those numbers did not include those. So again, very similar. Sunday in particular was very, very full in the park, and had lots of different incidents on both the west and east side of the park. So I think that's mainly what I wanted to just kind of catch you all up on visitation. We have now put up signs, mobile pay pass. You might all recall that we are the only national park that is allowing people to purchase their passes online. And so we've been doing that for 2 years and testing that out. It's worked really well, and it's amazing how many visitors come on there and pre-purchase their pass. And we now have signs up at Lumpy Ridge Trailhead, Lily Lake, Longs Peak, and the East Inlet Trail on the west side. And again, these have never been no-fee areas. I think people just kind of assumed and promoted them as no-fee areas, and that was never the case. So we're just continuing to try to really publicize that, please support your national park. We keep 80% of those fees here locally, and as we all talked about before, most of our visitors want to do the right thing. They want to purchase their passes. In fact, it's amazing how many people, if they're heading out of the park, try to stop and pay their passes on the way out. It's kind of refreshing. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we now actually have signs in those locations as well. Pavement preservation has been an adventure this year in Rocky Mountain National Park. The sheer volume of vehicles in the park has just really impacted the delays and the amount of work we can get done. So we are now on the west side of the park doing from the Colorado River Trailhead to the Grand Lake entrance. And that will be for the next couple of weeks. Again, the volume is just very different on the west side of the park than it is on Bear Lake Road and Trailhead Road, as you can imagine. We attempted to do the striping on Bear Lake Road last week. Has anybody driven up Bear Lake Road? Okay, so it was not a very good job. So they are going to start again on Bear Lake Road for the striping. So we will be highlighting that again. Just so you know, tomorrow night we'll be up high on Trailhead Road.
What did you do?
Well, pretty much.
Yes.
That's what happened. Well, that was my question. And then I asked if there were lights on the vehicle. Was that the problem? Because they're doing it at night, and I just don't think the quality control was there as they were doing it. So anyway, we are sure that maybe we'll get someone else to do the striping, and because all of the rest of the striping has gone great. I mean, one of the subcontractors that came up to Bear Lake got it done really quickly, and Valley got it done. So it just seemed to be kind of hopefully an anomaly. So hopefully that will be addressed. So striping late tomorrow night on Trailhead Road, we'll get the word out, and Thursday night. Again, this is weather dependent, but we've been tweeting it, but now we know for sure it's going to happen, or as close as we can know at this point. And then my last point, hopefully many of you saw our Just reminding people about fire restrictions in Rocky Mountain National Park. So I think you all are very well aware that we are now going in a very high fire danger, which is obviously a concern to all of us. And so what oftentimes happens is the Forest Service or county sheriffs will push out information saying they're going to level 1 fire restrictions. We're always in level 1 fire restrictions. We always only allow fires in metal grates, whereas places like the Forest Service or counties oftentimes have dispersed fires. So we just wanted to remind the public just to be really mindful and careful. At one of our safety checkpoints that we had, we were very concerned with the number of people that were intending to illegally camp. That we were able to interdict and educate. So again, it's just meant to be an educational information opportunity. That's when we're really fortunate with the level of visitors we have, is that a lot of people are very watching for that, and they'll let us know. So anyway, that was another reason we pushed that out on Friday, and it got a lot of media, which was great, because I think it just made people realize, oh yeah, it was really wet in the spring and summer, but conditions are changing, and so people just really need to be mindful of even cigarettes, etc. So that's another thing that I just wanted to cover with you all as well. That's it for me. Do you all have any questions for me?
It is right.
Yeah, I know. It actually feels like a little humid out there now, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right, thanks. I'll stay for a little bit now. Scoot. I want to hear your report, Eric.
There you go.
Now, just so you know, the town has allowed e-bikes and all bike paths. There's no restrictions.
I just had visions of e-bikes going up to Ouzel Falls.
No,
Not to Ouzel Falls.
Mills Lake.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
e-bikes go around like this.
Yeah.
So the regular bikes go around?
No, just anything go, e-bikes go anywhere, and bicycles.
Sometimes I thought you were supposed to have.
You just can't have motor.
You're thinking of the river walk, probably.
Maybe
The river walk is.
Yeah, we were walking can't ride a bike.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, is there anything you need to update us on from the town?
Fill out e-bikes and everything.
There you
That's about it.
go. So then we have moving on to the chairperson's message. Looking at the operating plan again, and can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll probably say.
Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Any comment? Hearing none, I'll take your votes.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Should I try to interrupt you just for a second? 'Cause I should say something to the town that
Oh,
I
yes.
forgot. In case anybody's been following it, we did finally come to a decision on the recreational uses in residential areas. And they are allowed only under special review too, so it's a big special review to allow it. A lot of people want us to say no commercial uses, wouldn't really make sense, because there are commercial uses we're using it. So it's under special review, and that was the final decision. We've been going over it for like 8 months, so if you all been following it, but it's now done deal. And the marijuana petition got enough signatures, so it will now come to the town board, and the board will either decide to allow it being an ordinance, allow dispensaries, or they'll say to have it legal. As their only option. We have no option to say no.
Okay. That was gonna be my question, if the town had the ability to just say no.
Now, we only have the option to send it to a vote or say yes.
Okay.
Right. So moving on, then we'll go to our president and CEO highlight and written report.
Yeah, just top line highlights. We are going to present the 2020 operating plan. I added the executive summary as requested. So
Appreciate that. That was nice to see.
I hope that helped. I also wanted to mention I attended ESTO, which is presented by Brand USA, and we're members of Brand USA. That's the kind of the U.S. National Tourism Organization. And they had some very interesting discussions about, is there going to be a recession next year or not? They brought in quite a few economists, and of course they had 3 economists, and one said no, one said maybe, one said yes. So there's your takeaway. So again, pretty cloudy. Everybody's probably got their own opinion. So, but it's something that we need to be aware of, because we would want to adjust our marketing strategy if we feel like there's a downturn in the economy for sure. So we'll be staying very much aware of what's going on out there. Also had a lot of great breakout sessions, including more discussion about community engagement and over tourism and a lot of things like that. Appreciate. And so that's a pretty high topic pretty much overall right now and all over the United States. So it's not just here in Estes Park, it's kind of everywhere. Even in city, urban destinations, tourism is a big issue. So some pretty good insights there. And then I also attended Connect Marketplace 2 weeks later. And Connect Marketplace is a group gathering of all kinds of meeting planners. And there were 3,500 attendees, including the vendors. We had a booth and we did direct one-on-one interviews. And so I had 3 days of interviews with meeting planners. You can choose which track you want. So for example, I have corporate or association or other types of tracks. Meeting planners that specialize in different sectors. And so corporate to me is like a pretty important one. And so I met with a total of about 36 meeting planners that were interested in talking to me about Estes Park. So they get to choose who they want to talk to. And so it was really good. We had very few open slots. And some of those meeting planners are actually planning meetings up here already. Some just wanted to know more about Estes Park because they're really interested and they think they'd like to add it to their inventory. And so I was able to engage with a lot of new meeting planners, which was really good. We also had a booth, and our booth was really great because we kind of had another opportunity to connect with all those meeting planners one-on-one or as they came up to the booth to ask questions about stuff. So we met a whole lot of additional meeting planners that way, which worked out. Let's see. Also, I attached just a sheet on CVent. CVent is kind of a very universally used by a lot of meeting planners. When I say a lot, it's a high percentage that actually submit their RFPs through CVent and they access different destinations because a lot of these meeting planners are accessing a whole bunch of different destinations. So CVent creates and provides a single kind of portal where they can submit their RFP to, and they can pick where it's going. And we have the opportunity to look at those RFPs and we can actually select things like Boulder and Steamboat or whatever we want and see what RFPs are being submitted to those destinations and see if we want to add Estes Park as a consideration. The interesting thing is we've been getting RFPs through CVent, but we have never responded to any of them throughout the last like 4 or 5 years, probably just because we didn't have anybody there to do it. So now we're paying close attention to it. And it's also now tied into our RFP process on the website. So if somebody submits a CVent RFP, it'll automatically populate into our CRM, which is really cool. So we don't have to manually enter all that information. And we'll get alerts that there's been an RFP submitted. So that's just the CVent sheet. And then next meeting, I will give you guys all of our RFPs that we've generated through the website and what those different. We have a lot of weddings, a lot of family reunions, but we also have quite a few group and corporate meeting planners and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
On the CVent leads page, any of those for sure? I know it's all potential business.
Yeah, it's just potential business. So we can influence. We're influencing it. So I'm responding back to those meeting planners and saying, hey, if you still need assistance, we'll be glad to help you. And then we can send it out as an RFP if they will let us do that. So they have the option to they can actually tell us, we want you to submit it to anyone out there, or we would rather pick and choose who we want to submit to.
Okay. So that total on the bottom there is.
That's if we were to book all of that business, which is not likely, but we should be able to book half of that business or a good portion of it because they were specifically interested in Estes Park. So that's good news. By the way, some of our other.
So can I ask a quick question? Because I was looking up, because some of these numbers are pretty big. So I was looking up some of these groups just to see who they were and what their meeting schedules were. So I just assumed this was just kind of to demonstrate like this is what we see when we pull up a report or something like that. But I actually found, I didn't have time to go through all of them, but I actually found that about 4 out of the first 6 or so are already committed to other locations. And I didn't have the chance to check the last 3 or 4. So this is this is kind of,
So it depends when the RFP is for versus when they're looking to.
well, it looked like,
Because they may be committed right now to a different location.
I looked up like the specific year.
Okay, good.
So I was looking up like for a specific year for, one was in Orlando, a couple were in Vail, one was in San Diego.
That was the year before, I think, right?
Thought it was-
Because I think I saw that San Diego one, that was the year previous.
Could be, and maybe I don't know what I'm looking at, but I just kind of thought this was like an example of what you guys, a report you pull up as opposed
It
to
is.
something
that's
that's
directly from
specific to
CETA.
us. Yeah,
So they actually say, here's how many room nights we're offering, but this is what we're gonna guarantee, and this is the room rate that we're looking for. And so you just multiply the room rate times the number of room nights, and you get the total value potentially. And that's just room nights, so it doesn't include any additional, service fees for anything else. But, I mean, you're right, some of those numbers are pretty big, but
well, that's why I was looking them up. Who are these people?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, just so you know, they have submitted RFPs directly to us through CMET, so that's pretty good.
Mhm.
That's the good news, is if we start paying more attention to that, like when I was at the Connect Marketplace, I talked to each of the main players and said, we're paying attention to CMET, so please submit through CMET or directly through our website, and we will follow up on the RFP.
Well, hopefully we'll get some business out of it.
I know we have a group of 1,000 in March coming, that's in 2 years.
What's that?
It's a medical group, and I met with the meeting planner here. She needs some additional support from this,
That's
from
awesome.
the DMO, so that's a huge group. So that's gonna be a lot of other hotels. They've already booked all they can book at the Ridgeline, all they can book at Stanley. And they're asking about additional hotels that they can book into. Very good.
I know you were working on some sort of group flyer thing you pass out at these things. Would it be possible to take a look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still updating that.
Okay.
So we have a flyer that we used at IPW, which is just kind of a basic information, like here's how close we are to Denver International Airport. Here's a little map of how to get here. Here are their airlines that service Denver, those kinds of things, so that the meeting planner who's not familiar with this area, which is not too uncommon, can at least understand where we are in relationship.
Out of curiosity, doesn't have to be just after the meeting, you give me a copy.
I think I've got one on my desk. Yeah. And then on the last minute availability, I just wanted to mention, based on our last board meeting, we discussed it with our team. So we're reviewing to make sure that it's accurate, that app on our website will work effectively. And we're also adding some lodging properties that aren't in the system that need to be added into the system to make it more complete. So we should have that done by next month, so we're working on that. So we put a hold on implementing it, so it's not implemented yet. And
What do you
then
think the timeline is on that?
they can turn on as soon as we're ready. So I'm kind of, right now, Abby and I are working on making sure we have all the properties listed properly. So the way CVent works is if that property has a booking engine, they can tap into it, it'll connect into our system. Not all the properties have put that into the system, so we're doing it for them. So that's kind of my summarized reporting. Oh wait, I guess there is more. We did send out our digital annual report, so I hope you guys got that. Looked kind of like that. It's multiple page, and we tried to make it simple and easy to understand. So
You didn't get it.
I didn't.
you didn't get it?
I didn't get it either. I searched my email and I couldn't find anything. I thought maybe I'm busy.
Okay,
Maybe I missed it.
I will find out why that happened.
That should have gone out to all stakeholders.
It should have gone out to all stakeholders. So anyway, we'll double check and find out why that didn't happen. We're also working on the community advisory board, and so we're still looking for members. So if you guys have anybody you'd like to recommend, please let me know. I know we want to get a couple of people, referrals from the town, and we're looking for some community members. I think you guys saw that breakdown of the different slots we're trying to fill. So we have about 6 right now, so that's where we're at.
What areas are there? More like downtown, or what areas are you needing?
couple of community members who are just active and engaged stakeholders in the community, but who probably don't have any business or any work. They're just retired. We have the EDC right now. We're up from there. We've got a couple of lodging properties. We could use some more lodging properties. We need a couple more of those. Couple of retailers would be good. One restaurant. I'd like to get at least maybe one more restaurant in there.
Did you go back to the Sandy Hall list of people that she consulted with when she was
I think
doing
we
her?
looked at that, and I've got to send out to you.
Because that's a good list.
That is a good list.
A number of the people that were there said they'd be willing to
Okay, that's good.
participate again, because it's hard to get people to participate sometimes.
That's good. And Abby did give me a referral too, so we're working with our team to try to help with that. The most recent Rocky Mountain Lodging report, again, that's not a totally accurate report because it's a small sample of our entire lodging market, but it's what we have. So anyway, I included that in the report. And we'll know about the matching grant from CTO in October.
By the October board meeting?
Probably not by the, yeah, it's probably not by the October. We'll know what, I'll let you guys know. I can send an email out to like the receiver to receive it. That's pretty much it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So with the larger group bookings, so is it meeting space, restaurant? I mean, where they, when they're going to make a choice, is that the two key things that they're looking for?
So yes, on meeting space, and if it's like a group of 1,000 people, they have to use multiple properties because we don't have any one property that could accommodate them, except maybe YMCA. They also are usually trying to have at least one day where they eat off-site or just have an open night with their conference typically. The whole idea is the more we can get those large groups, that creates a lot of compression in our market. So basically what happens is all the regular folks that are coming in to stay overnight have fewer locations to pick from, and so it creates a lot of overflow as a result. So it's a real positive effect on the market.
Is there anything that Estes Park doesn't have that is the reason that they say we're going to?
I mean, we could certainly use more conference space because breakout rooms and having that capacity can be an important factor. So right now, our conference center has basically 7 breakout rooms. We have the event center, which is more expo oriented. So doing an expo or having booth center and all that kind of thing. So I think our biggest limitation is the size of our conference facility. But that and also having a larger hotel that has a lot more rooms. So
Another issue, Pat, that we run into, especially when we book in that bloggers conference that Shannon had mentioned a few months ago, and it keeps coming up more and more and more and more, is transportation.
that's another key.
We've only got shuttles for a very short period of time. We really don't have a ride share presence up here. And that ride share presence comes up more and more and more every month. Not that there's a lot we can necessarily do about encouraging Uber and Lyft. I know Lyft even was here for a while. They did a big launch program with us about a year and a half ago. But that is the thing that keeps coming up over and over and over again, is transportation.
Okay. That's interesting.
E-bikes.
They might get blown over in February.
Take a few charges. So those are kind of the key limitations, but that said, people are really interested in our destination and they love the fact that we're right next to Rocky Mountain National Park and tying that into what they're doing. So that is a major advantage for us.
Well, thank you.
Moving on to finance report. Or
Actually, we're doing marketing, I think.
marketing and, okay.
So our marketing report, again, you can see that as far as like our website traffic, it's actually improved quite a bit. And we think part of that is from the Tommy video that we added to the site. If you guys watch that,
Yeah,
it's really good. So we think that's really helped the Tommy Caldwell. The video is really up the lift on that. So there's the stats on it that basically it's looking pretty good. We had a dip right when we transitioned to the new website, which is very expected. And that's pretty good. Next page. There you go, 4.5%.
Can I ask you a quick, oh, you're probably gonna hit this, I'm probably out of order.
Yeah, let me just run through it,
Yeah.
maybe I'll answer it. So the visitor center visitation in July was up also 6.1%. So it looked pretty good. In fact, July 4th was the largest day the visitor center has had. They had, I think, 6,500 people or something like that in the visitor center, which was pretty big. Okay, next. And then PR performance. When you look at years past, we're underperforming this year compared to years past. We think that, and I'm trying to get an answer from the PR agency, is because I think they're using a new calculation, which calculates how the value is for each ad based on its circulation and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to find out if that's part of the factor of why it's a lower number than it has been. Usually it's been about $1 million in revenue value. And so that's if you were to pay for that ad space and that thing. Of course, the story is even better than ad because people trust it more. So basically, that's where the value is coming from. But they have a pretty complex algorithm to come up with that. So that's universally used throughout the United States. So that's the new thing they're doing. But it's still a good return on investment, 5.4. And next page, I think that was it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so actually, maybe it wasn't up there. I was really curious about the change in the highway traffic in July. On
Actually,
34
we
and
did have it in the
36.
report. I just didn't put it up there. So maybe it wasn't there, but yeah, it was flat on US 34 and down for US 36.
27.4%,
Yeah.
that's huge.
But I think 34, from what I heard,
That was my initial thought, but then
isn't
we
open
should
all
have,
the time.
okay, so
was
I think it opened in May of 2018, and then there were subsequent closures still overnight at different times, and through June. You would think that we would have seen a comparable increase in
Yeah, that's
in
what I read.
34, and I'm not seeing that here. And so does that mean that if 34 was flat and 36 was down 27%, that would seem to me that either 27% fewer people were coming in Estes Park, number one, or two, they changed how they were measuring it.
His visitation was up.
Visitation was up, so it doesn't
Or
make,
more people are riding per car.
It's like 6 people in each car.
So, 34 did open, just before Memorial Day, but there were flaggers.
Right.
In several different areas, but around the 4th of July, that got reduced down, if I remember correctly. And we were still having way more traffic on 36 at the time.
so it doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right.
And I know just from personal experience driving back and forth on 36, it seems much busier than past years.
Yes, I'm not
The
sure how they
accidents are
measure
up
this. I
big time.
assume they have the pressure thing across the
Does
road.
the town do anything with the
On the
highway?
highway,
That's right.
So, I mean, did they take counters out for a period of time? Did they?
Well, see, that does.
See that, guys?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure where the number came from and where we came, but either we're really in bad shape here because 27% less few people are, and we know that they're getting here.
So
They're not dropping out of the clouds.
Teleporting.
you're probably not coming by bus.
Well,
In
but we have
July,
us
they
now.
certainly didn't come through Grand Lake.
No, they did not.
Now, it could have come on 7, that's a possibility.
No, but 7 had all kinds of construction.
I mean,
Well,
that's
that-
why
not
7 was under
2018.
construction too.
I know.
Yeah,
Well, it seems like something doesn't make sense.
something's not right, I think,
Yeah,
in this
that's
number.
probably an accurate observation.
Yeah.
Speaking of that though, not really, but kind of, I was just looking at like TripAdvisor, and I know a lot of people look at TripAdvisor, and they still say that we have no public transportation out here. How do we get the word to them that we do have a service out
We
here?
just have to submit an update to them.
Okay.
Bus stand, we saw that this
The bus
weekend.
stand.
Yeah,
Bus
but they
stand's here
from,
now.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
only here, it's gonna be not here in pretty soon, because it's only through like September,
We
right?
have weekends, August and September.
So it's kind of a trial basis.
is a total trial basis.
Yeah. And I know they want to get visitation on that more higher.
Mhm.
So we've been pushing it through our social media, sorry.
Except for
Through
you.
our social media. They want to help increase their ridership, so we're doing that. through
Right, because if
social
it
media.
doesn't, they won't redo it.
Yeah.
It's not $10, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's an awesome
It
thing.
wouldn't stay that cheap though if they do it on a permanent basis.
Oh, as they say.
They said it go up to like $20 or something.
That's still not.
Still keeping.
Yeah, an Uber from the airport up there is like 80.
And the shuttle's 90.
Yeah, so the only problem I see is that it had to come to the Union Station, so you have to get to the Union Station first, which you
Yeah.
can take a tram.
Also,
from.
no parking at.
You can also get it from the spot in Bosworth and
Oh, that's right.
Sheridan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Before it gets to, right.
So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, get their ridership up. Any other questions on marketing? Okay. Stakeholder services update. Again, so some pretty impressive things. We've had 124 stakeholders contacted. That's a lot. 77 website listings have been updated. So it's their listing number updating. 135 stakeholders contacted, 70 stakeholder photo shoots. So that's a lot of photo shoots. We're really picking that up. And that's a good number. And then 10 stakeholder, I don't know what, plan for September is 10 more. And then we have creative like marketing photo shoots. So when we're doing events and things like that, we've done 30 of those. And then group sales profiles created 736 guest leads. Request for proposals. Again, this is kind of group mixed in with stakeholder services a little bit. The RFP thing is something they used to report. So 68 RFPs were sent out to all stakeholders via Olive, and 40% to all service requests, which is different than lodging requests. So if it's lodging, it's 68, and service requests are 40. And then consumer contacts, 14,662. So pretty good numbers. And then she gave you an update in your written record on sales for website and official visitors guide. So again, we're starting to catch up, I think, and getting closer to budget, which is looking better. And we're hoping to get there by the end of the year, so we're working hard on that. But they really did gain a lot of ground. And also, long term, we're still looking at evaluating the lottery process and seeing if we need to make some adjustments there. It's whatever we come up with, somebody's not going to probably be happy with it, but I firmly believe that we can improve it. So we're going to try to pull together a group of stakeholders and have discussions about that. And then, let's see, this is important here. We'll look at pricing structure for 2020. We'll keep it the same or increase it slightly, increase some parts of it. And then that's pretty much it. Stakeholder services feedback group, which we'll be creating to go over that lottery process and things like that. So that's coming up. And we should have that first meeting. I think she just say October. Well, I know she's shooting for having that first meeting at least by October. So that should be good. And it's on the Kelly's report.
So if I can take you guys back in a time machine to May of this year, when we sat around this table and reviewed the futures study, we had all saw that pretty much all of our stakeholders across the board were anticipating a pretty bad June. And then all the rest of the months in summer were up from there. With June numbers in, we hit almost dead on budget and saw a 3.4% increase over 2018. So from all the studies that we've done, we anticipated June to be the lowest. And it looks like it still saw a bump over last year. When you look at some of the average night stays, the increase in price, it looks like we probably had about the same amount of people. It just looks like, as a whole, our lodging properties charged a little more this year to accommodate for the bump. So the big fear of June was going to be a giant dip, really didn't deliver on that promise, which I think is a great thing. If we look at our balance sheet, I had said in the last meeting, if you remember, that our cash was at the lowest point. That was the case. And now in July, we were sitting on a pretty healthy cash position with a very large accounts receivable. And the accounts receivable is very large simply because the new group sales, the website sales process that we launched this year. Part of our goal with that, if you'll remember when we were talking about the 2019 operating plan, was to accommodate all stakeholders regardless of their size, means. So what that meant is the amount of payment options that we launched is pretty incredible. There's probably like 45 different payment options available. You can pay it all up front. We'll do it all over 12 months. If you want to pay it all during summer, that's fine. If you want to pay it all the first of the year, that's fine. And if you remember when we adopted that accounts receivable policy, that was all with that in mind. So what that means is the accounts receivable that we're sitting on is pretty significant. Really, the only rule for that was you must be paid up in full by June 30th, 2020, which is obviously when this period ends. So with that, it's really helped Abby and her team, sell a little more to the people that can benefit from it. So that would be why the AR is so high for July.
Could you, because you and I talked a little bit about this,
Yes.
could you share with the rest of the group, as we talked about whether there was any downside, and what the upsides are being able to offer this? Like, this was not something we could have done before with the contract we had.
Correct, because they're a for-profit business, right? They need their cash flow.
Right.
We are here for the stakeholders. So if you want to purchase advertising on the Visit Estes Park website, and that helps your business, we're pretty much going to do whatever we can to accommodate that. The risk would be, honestly, the risk, because of the way that Abby has structured it, where if it's not working for you, you can cancel for the year. The risk is actually coming from the people who pay up front, because then that's a cash that we would have to pay as a liability. If you're paying on a by-month process and February you decide you're done, we could just cut you off. And instead of producing an invoice every month, we stop right then and there. So really, it's kind of interesting to think that the biggest risk are the people who pay up front. Because if you were to cancel in February, I have to write you a check.
Right.
Where everybody
Well,
else
we
is
talked
just
about
stop.
that because if someone is paying cash up front, cancels part of their contract
Mhm.
in, 3 months down the line, and we get a check.
Exactly.
Somebody who is paying on a monthly basis, then gets an adjustment in their payment.
Mhm.
It doesn't really, because I asked you if it affected our cash flow negatively or
Not at
anything
all.
like that, and it doesn't.
In fact,
So,
it's
really a
significantly
nice
better.
option.
It gave us in July, about 20 to 25% of stakeholders paid up front. And so that gave us a huge influx in July that we would have never normally seen. Because with our DTN, even if you paid up front all with DTN, the kind of non-hidden truth is that we still got paid quarterly by them, regardless of how you paid. So if they would keep all the money for 12 months, and we got it broken out over a year from them, so we got quarterly payments. So we had a huge influx with people, about, like I said, 20 to 25% that paid all up front. And now we're seeing every month instead of quarterly. So there really hasn't been a negative.
I would also think, just from someone who has a more constrained budget, seeing that those smaller payments,
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big gulp to like do a big cash payment of, several $1,000s
Sure.
all at once. And so maybe they're more inclined to buy more advertising.
And Abby has said that. She has said that the payment options have really helped people. Like I said, we'll pretty much, as long as you fulfill pay it by the time it's over, we'll figure it out. Some people wanted to pay in 4 months because they wanted to do it in summer, right? That makes sense. They want to pay it all while they have, the most funds. So, they're paying in 4 months. They're paying July, August, July through October or something like that. Others wanted to do 12 months. Some wanted to do 10 so that they had 2 months off. I mean, we were pretty much accommodating whatever payment plan a person wanted. And as long as they stick up to it and, follow
So at
the
least as far as
policy, we're in a good spot.
as far as I'm concerned, it was one of the unintended benefits
It was.
to taking control of this, because that was not an option.
And just more of a, today I had someone who called and said, you know what, actually we wanted to switch something. And instead of having to go through DTN and go through a corporate, they called Abby, and then Abby walked over to me and we changed it because they were paying tomorrow. So, their payment changed because they were able to do it so quickly. There's just been a ton of benefits. And then just most of you at the table have purchased ads this year. So, your experience to share would probably be beneficial to Abby and I, especially on what the process was like now compared to what it was like in the past.
It's been, once I finally returned Abby's calls.
Yeah.
it was
I think I
easy.
just did yours today. So
Yeah, we're all good, so.
I think most.
And and we got a photo shoot. Have you done a photo shoot yet? Have you done a photo shoot yet?
We're gonna be on schedule soon.
Yeah, because it was a good process, and it was not difficult at all, and the pictures turned out great. So.
And then we get into what I would say is probably the most interesting discussion question that I would have when we look at sales tax. And obviously, we're just reporting on the sales tax that the town reports on. Lodging saw a very slight bump, and obviously, it's a bump different than what we saw on our 2% lodging tax. Of course, we talked about that last month with county and town. So it looks like maybe the county properties had a little bit better June than the town properties. And then the most interesting thing to me when looking at and reviewing the sales tax was normally in every other month that I've seen, food and beverage and retail trend together. In June, they went completely opposite directions. Food actually saw a dip, a 5.5% dip, and retail saw a 17% increase. I don't have a good answer for it, but it's definitely something that Eric and Shannon are looking into, because that is a very big outlier from the normal. Eric, I don't know if you have any reasonings or thoughts, but it's a weird outlier.
I don't know if it's a lag in reporting, which is, I don't think
A lot of people dieting.
Yeah.
So there's some-
yeah, not eating.
It's just a really weird thing to talk about and bring up, and if it happens again, we probably really need to dive into it. Honestly, if July's numbers come out and they're right back on track, we could probably call it a fluke. If it happens again, it's something that should go to the forefront of this course discussion.
More heavy foodie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then everyone has a copy of our 2018 audit report in front of them. I'm not going to bore you with reading 40 pages. I'm just going to cover some highlights. I did put the opinion in here. Basically, the opinion is an unqualified opinion, which is the equivalent of a clean audit. There is an emphasis here that pretty much every government entity got in 2018, and that's because there was a fundamental change from the GASB board saying with the way that we report our pension liabilities. It's covered on page, it's not actually a page, it's page 3, it doesn't have a page number on it. There's a very complicated formula that determined that we needed to change how we balance sheet our pension liability. The town got hit with it as well. Their number was significantly larger than ours. And every government entity in Colorado got hit with it. Everyone under para got hit with that. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, I don't want to go through the whole audit. The first, I believe, 9 pages are my management discussion, and then we go into the basic financial statements that they presented. No notes, no recommendations, and a effectively clean audit.
We've come a long way in 2 years.
Yeah.
Long way.
I think that's all I've got, unless you have any questions.
All right. And moving on, we'll go to the presentation of the operating plan.
Yeah, so again, this is in draft format, but we are looking to get this approved. And I believe the process is that then we'll go to the town and to the county, correct, for approval. So this is our organizational chart as it currently stands. Next, you want me to write it? Let's go ahead.
I have a quick question on this, and it's just a little thing, but on the infographic, you have Wendy reporting to Kevin, but on here she reports to you.
Right, that's the adjusted correction.
On the infographic, that's the corrected one?
This is the corrected.
Okay.
So again, I don't want to reiterate everything we've been talking about, but we did set a new mission, created a new vision. We identified a number of goals that we've established in our strategic plan, which has been approved.
Is there a reason why the goals are in order?
Yeah, this is related to like marketing. So goals 1 and 4 are specifically going to address. So these are the goals that relate to each of these program pieces. So group sales and marketing, goal number 2, right? Stakeholder services program, goal number 3. And I go into detail on this in the written report. Community engagement, goal 3 and 5 are being addressed. And then we get into the proposed budget. So again, these are the key variances, so things that are changing considerably from year to year. So we didn't address any of the things that are just staying pretty currently the same as from year to year, or there is no significant change. So the district tax fund, we assumed an increase of about 3%, which is looking at past years and averaging that out. Kevin can jump in if he wants to add anything. Visitor guides, again, we're selling that directly ourselves, so that's a $19,000 increase. Advertising fees for stakeholders, $114,000 increase. And again, that's because now we'll have a full year rather than just 6 months. So that's why it's such a substantial increase. Grants and awards, $25,000, but that's offset by added expense. So it just gives us additional marketing reach if we are awarded that $25,000. And then other income is just improvement due to interest bearing accounts because we're investing more wisely and getting a little higher interest rate. On the expense side, special advertising, there's that CTO grant. If we are awarded the grant, we'll have a $25,000 expense.
That was the one for the athlete residents.
Yes, athletes and residents program. So we'll be able to add a number of additional bloggers if we can do that, which will help extend our reach. Research, we think we'll be spending about 50,000 less. That actually might get adjusted again, right? Because based on our discussion.
Yeah.
But I want to leave it in there because, so right now we have about $50,000 in research. We are planning on doing a new comp market research analysis, which will cost us something. So it's probably safer to have that in there in the budget. So we did talk to the town, and they are not interested in continuing which is it, the arrivalist stuff. They didn't want to match. We were talking to them. If they wanted to match it, then we would continue it. That's why it's only 50,000 less. So we're going to have some savings there in addition to 50,000.
Arrivalist, we've talked about a lot here. And the idea that it's a very expensive tool. It's about $110,000 a year, give or take. And it is an extremely interesting tool to use. And the more Shannon and I especially have been talking, its value really seems to correlate with our visitor study that we do every 3 years. So what we were finding is we've had Arrivalists for 18 months now. And we really started asking the question after the 13th month. So the 13th month was when we got a month we'd already seen. And we kind of realized like we're not really learning anything new. Nothing really changed in that time, especially for the amount that we're paying. You're talking about 7% of our advertising budget committed to learning about its effectiveness. And so we kind of pitched the idea to Travis with the town of would they want to go in on half to maybe cover it, and if we wanted to do it every year. With that, no, what we decided is we will pick up that Arrivalist every 3 years, just like we do with our visitors. So that every 3 years we learn the new trends, what's changing, rather than have this huge anchor on us that really isn't teaching us anything year over year. And maybe we'll learn after 3 years, oh, it's huge. We really need this information more often, or maybe we need it every 5 years. Maybe it doesn't change. But right now the goal is to relaunch it in 2021 or 2022. Shannon would have that exact. It's either 2021 or 2022. We're gonna pick it right back up and subscribe to that.
And frankly, there's other research out there that we might want to look at. So that's why I think it's wise to leave 50,000 in that budget, just so that we have it there. Website, we just launched a brand new website, so we aren't going to have to. So we're going to do the maintenance on that, and that's going to be $35,000. That's a simple contracted amount. So it's 35,000 less than what it was the year before. Group sales and marketing, so that's 110,000 more. We spent this year 80,000 in 2019, so we moved it from advertising to its own category so that we have it called out specifically. We can just monitor and measure all that. International promotion, about 20,000 less. But it's interesting too, just to note that international market. If you look at our market analysis, you can see that international visitation, it's really a pretty low percentage. It's less than 5%. It's probably about 3%, maybe. Might get to 3%. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if the park has any. I don't think they do, but if they had any statistics on it, it would be helpful. But anyway, that's what we're seeing based on our intercept interviews and everything. And then payroll is about 263 higher due to group sales, COLA, benefits increased to 2019 budget. Office supplies about 10,000 less, equipment, PC software 30,000 less. All this hasn't changed from the last board meeting, so the numbers are still the same. So basically, we have a balanced budget. I think this is the first time in 3 years that this is there you go. So first time we've got an actual balanced budget, and that's for different reasons because we were using money.
They weren't bad reasons.
Yeah, spending money that we had in excess and things like that. So anyway, this is a balanced budget. That's the end of my operating plan presentation. I also did an executive summary in there so that you guys can have a little more detail on each of these different numbers. So if you read any of those, I would be glad to give any additional input that you have questions about.
Just the formatting of that was a little frustrating with things cut off on page to page. I just go through.
Yeah, I know. I'll clean it up.
Okay.
So the main thing, I know what I was finding is that virtually in every one, there was the years at the top, then a page break, and then you go to the next page and you had to go back and look. On a more generic, because I know quantifying results was one of the huge things I heard about when I first joined the board in the past. I'm really struggling with how we quantify where we started with group, like what kind of group business were we doing when we, before we started investing anything into
Right.
it? What's the result for 2019? Can we like identify specifically any groups that were actually booked and, for this year, next year, et cetera? If we increase expenditure into the next year by a significant amount, which is what we're talking about, how do we quantify that? How do we show what it's produced and whether it's worthwhile? And what time of year are those groups coming?
Mhm.
That's a huge thing with me.
So we are starting to get all that data. So we're taking a look and going back and querying all the RFPs that we've had. That's one way we can do it.
So going into the past RFPs, see if they booked, where
Right.
they
Where they
stayed,
stayed,
what they
when
spent.
they stayed.
How do you get that information?
So we have the RFPs. They come
Okay.
through our website. So that's probably our best measurement.
But we can actually tell from that, yes, they booked.
Yes, we have to call them back and say, hey, was your experience in Estes Park? Did you get the booking and all that stuff? So each RFP tells us when the date is.
So we have the historical data from before this year. And so we ought to be able to go back.
So for example, this year we've more than tripled the number of RFPs that we're generating. So that's a good indication that things are in a good direction, because a lot of those will convert into business, some won't, but a lot of them will.
And we're generating them from being invited to generate an RFP, or are we just,
So when we do all the marketing that we're doing for group, we're always trying to push people to submit an RFP, whether it's a wedding, a family reunion, a meeting planner, whoever it is. So and they can do that through CVent, and we're now tracking that, and then, or we can generate that report that I gave you guys, which is just a subset of the total report.
what I guess I'm getting at, just generically, we could generate a whole lot of prospects that are just for the sake of generating prospects? Or are they targeted prospects that are likely to book in a mountain region with the size of a
So we're
accommodation?
And who they book.
And who they,
Yeah, it's only Estes Park that we're looking at, so it's only the RFPs for Estes Park.
So these are specific to Estes
Specific
Park,
to
okay,
Estes
good.
Park.
And
Yeah.
that information, that request is coming from them directly. That's good to know,
That's right.
okay.
And the one thing we can't do is we're not booking that business, so we have no control over the actual booking process. So we have to go back and say, we have to go back to that person who submitted the RFP and say, did you end up doing your business with us? And how did it go? And create a survey, basically. And so that's something we've never had. So it's really a follow-up survey. So that's part of that RFP process I talked about, where we do about a third of it right now, and we need to do the other 2/3 of it, which includes also supporting every person that comes in. That's a group operator or even a wedding or whatever. And if they need some support from us, and we can do different things like help with signage or help with providing a travel desk at their event, or there's different things we can do which would be supportive of their event, which is typical of most destinations. So most destinations have that kind of a program. All I can tell you is this is a brand new kickoff, and so yes, we'll try to have that by the end of the year where we can summarize all that information.
For the past years.
Right. Part of the problem is we still don't really have a staff to help with it. So that's part of the incomplete piece that we have.
So is that gonna be part of the duties, the surveying, the RFPs?
Follow
That's right.
through on the RFP process all the way through.
Okay. Yeah,
Site
because it's just,
visitation and support is another key aspect.
spending another $200,000 into groups between the new employee and the budget amount. It'd be nice just to see more than potential revenue, but
Right.
we're gonna need something that's like, well, it's just.
What I have is what I can just pull from the reports right now, but we'll have to actually do some physical calling back, and it's going to take quite a bit of.
Okay.
So I had a follow-up question to that, because there were two different, in the budget, we had one group sales manager coming in. In the operating plan, it called for the one plus potentially a shared person.
Yes.
So my question is, because the budget isn't how do you, let's say 3 months from now, 5 months from now, there's some kind of an agreement made, how do we fund that? We've got the budget set, so how do we participate in a new agreement that isn't on the plate right now?
So the way I'm trying to present it is a collaborative effort with the event center complex and the conference center and Rob and that whole that.
So is Rob the one that makes the decision on that?
So it's the intergovernmental agreement, it's Rob and Travis both. So
So
first
that
I
would be
want to talk to
town
Rob,
administrator.
then get Rob to agree on what we do. So if we collaborate and kind of share our budgets in effect and meld it together, we'd have a lot more budget and a lot more reach.
So I guess to some degree, my question is, if that is a real possibility, is Rob supporting this at this point?
I have a meeting with him tomorrow.
You have a meeting tomorrow? Because it would seem to me it would be logical to try to get that into the
So
budget.
it won't change our budget number at all. It wouldn't change it. If we don't do it, it's still gonna be, we're gonna work with the same budget number. So it'll just be one person if that's what we end up doing, or depends on how much we are.
We really do need the information about if they booked and
Oh, yeah,
that kind of stuff, because the town won't just go, oh,
Yeah, because that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I
That's
don't
good.
see Rob or the event center, the town approving an increase in.
No, there's no
budget.
increase. This is just taking their existing budget, our budget, putting it together and extending the marketing reach that we have, because we're doing a lot of the same things.
Are you talking, okay, so are we talking about different things? I'm talking about sharing on one employee between.
I'm talking about the labor and how we could share that and make that work a bit, extend that further using our $90,000 and his budget that he's got already.
So are you talking about hiring one person to share between two entities?
I'm just sharing.
Possibly. So I have a couple of models that I want him to look at and tell me which one he thinks is worth it.
And you're meeting-
So I'm totally confused now, because does that mean one person and we're sharing the cost of that person, or two people potentially?
So potentially two, maybe we have to look at it and see what makes sense. So it's based on what Rob will.
Just to make it, I think, because I know what you're talking about, but I think what he's talking about, if we combine, they're double doing some things.
Right.
So if we combined and did the same thing, it's not adding a person necessarily, but they have a person doing it there.
That's right.
So
So we're going to create
instead of individual
sales-
doing it, then there's two people
sales
doing
team
it
in
together.
effect between the two organizations.
To me, there'd still be a cost of shared cost.
There is, we're already paying it. That's what, as of right now. we're
Is it a-
already paying
There's a
it.
budget, they have a budget now, we have a
Yes, because
budget.
we have a budget and they have a budget. Well, we have a budget and we have a
So
budget.
again, we won't change the
So the
budget.
budget that I'm
Won't
seeing
change.
for the group sales manager is not for one person. That's not
It
that
might
high.
be if we don't come to an agreement with
But if
them.
we agree,
We might end up
so
with
what
two.
he's saying is that, the town has a budget for this person doing that job too.
Well,
So instead of
this
doing
information is public
two-
knowledge, so you got a $90,000 figure in there.
Mhm.
So if you hire one person at $90,000, then you don't have room to share costs.
But that's not the point. The point is that the town's doing the same thing that we're doing. So what he's saying is that instead of a person in the town doing it and us doing it and doing it two different ways, basically putting it together and doing the same thing.
Because we're doing a lot of the same things, there's savings to be had and some improvement through a collaborative if we do that, through an intergovernmental.
So we're not doing half the stuff and they're not running.
So really
stuff,
it's-
then have
I
to go
assume
over
we'd
it.
have to, does the board approve any intergovernmental agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd
So-
have to come
So it would
through.
have to come back to
Both
us.
boards.
Yeah, so would the
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, so it'd
And
go
the town would
between
have to
both
approve.
Absolutely.
entities.
So that would only be if it, I mean, they're not gonna do it unless it really makes sense,
Right.
but if Rob goes, gosh, well, this person,
Benefits him,
Sally
benefits
Sue
us.
is doing the same job that Billy Boo is doing. Let's make Sally and Billy Boo do the exact same job without doing it separate. Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
No, that's.
So the same thing is true with the like trade shows and marketing that they're doing in their budget. And the same, we're duplicating a lot of that effort. So if we combine the budget, then we have all that
Good luck
budget,
with your meeting.
an extended budget, which
Yeah.
we can then apply to even more. So,
And then we'll have more information later then.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and you know, events is down a person, so it might be, you know, them to do something like
True.
okay.
Is there a-
I have a couple clarifying questions
Sure.
that I think will probably be really fast. You mentioned be our own media house in here, and I wondered, what does that look like and how is that different than what we currently?
So we're currently, like, for instance, Josh is publishing and doing blogs. And So we're creating content. So that's what we mean by being our own media house. We have our own in-house graphic designer, and so we're creating materials in-house. And that's pretty common in the DMO world. They're going more to becoming their own content creating.
That was actually, we started that in 2019. So that was part of the extra funds of bringing the sales in-house to sort of enable us to have the funds to have the in-house graphic design, a media coordinator, and a photographer, where those were all outsourced.
So we're creating all that content and we're able to use it.
Creating jobs here, creating talent here, which is cool.
Yeah, this is cool. This is cool. No, thanks. They scribble things. I have like, doodle. Hers is like, can be published.
You mentioned also influencers for each market,
Mhm.
and I just wondered, because I know we have the adventurers and we have like Tommy Cole, but who are influencers for families or the couples? Do we have like?
There actually are influencers out there. So we're gonna be looking at that and seeing how we can engage with those target audiences. So for example, there's we've had some. So
We had a family, part of our athlete in residence program that Shannon launched, which I'm sure at some point in life he's going to win some crazy award for that idea, because it's so well received in the influencer community. But he brought a family, and they're a van camping family. They've got 2 young kids, and they did a week here I think they stayed with you, Deb. So if you remember them, they were
Was it
here in like
April or
April. It was
something?
April. And basically their entire Instagram, they've got like something like 250,000 followers. I can't remember the name of them, but if somebody wants to make a
My
note to
Fan
remind me to
Life or
send it out.
something like that? I think I followed the
Something like that, yeah. But they were here for a week and did very Estes things. They didn't do a lot of adventure stuff, but it was very much family focused. Their entire following is about the 2 kids and how they live on the road with the 2 kids. So it's not all just here's the impossible thing you'll never be able to do. Aren't my pictures pretty?
rock climbing.
So that was like,
I've heard a lot about
Yeah,
that, but I
like-
haven't heard a whole lot about like,
So that's what we're
Tommy's amazing, but I'm not gonna like follow him with the diamond, So, but a lot of the influencers that we bring are the average person who just happen to have giant followings and have that niche market. And that's just the one off the top of my head that I remember that's relevant
That's
to what
really
you were
cool.
asking.
Like Jenkins.
So there's another example is Brand USA has a real big initiative, and we can actually submit video to them, and they'll post not only we can use it for our website, but also they'll post it on their new kind of what they call television channel, internet channel, television channel. And so again, you can, and they also have a group that's going around and they're doing filming with drones and all kinds of stuff, and they're publishing it to social media. So
I think Tanya
There's a
does
lot
a
of
good
different
point
ways.
about those different demographics, retirees,
the different people we're targeting. I haven't.
I'll give you
I've been
one
to a
other
few
example.
meetings, but I haven't really heard a whole lot of how we're targeting.
yeah, because we're still working on it.
maybe foodies.
But I will say that we've submitted the Tommy,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
submitting the Tommy video to Brand USA to include it on their new digital TV channel as an example. And we can do that with any other videos that we produce, so, or that other people produce that give us permission to. So there's a whole bunch of things. There's the discount guy or something like that. Your rewards cards, how to maximize the rewards that you get. He has like this huge following, like millions of people that follow him. And so he's also interested in having DMOs invited to their market. And then he's got a whole group of bloggers that go to work and help generate a whole bunch of reach. So again, that reaches kind of the general audience and targets a little bit more broadly, but there's ways to target people.
You watched Juggling with Jenkins, the family. I mean, that's the kind of thing, that's a huge, she's kind of rash sometimes, but I mean, she got millions and millions of followers. And she just talked about everyday life and.
There's some big influencers
Yeah.
out there. Any other questions?
I'll send out that family on Instagram, by the way. I just don't remember the name off the top of my head.
Thanks.
And if you guys have a format you'd rather see that in, as far as the way I have that lined up, I understand the cutoff part of it.
The cutoff was a big thing.
Just, I would just say,
Like
just the
right
format.
there, it's like, here's
It was one little spelling typo, let me see if I can find it. I think it was in stakeholders. It'll come across as you go through
just
stuff, so I'll
shoot me
find
an
it.
email with it.
Yeah, it was just one letter
But
on
anyway,
it.
yeah, that's the format, we decided last minute to put it in landscape, so we'll adjust it.
Yeah.
Hey, do like that, amazing. But that's why everyone wants to ask that.
We-
ADR,
this is just
ADR is average daily rate.
Change based on
You've
what
been in
they
medicine
do.
since 1889.
Or-
Veterinary medicine and records, ADR.
You're talking about the,
Really?
Yeah, okay.
No, yeah.
Ain't doing
Hey,
right.
Maureen,
Okay.
has the town voted on raises and everything for next year?
No.
Okay. So this is a placeholder.
Mhm.
It's what you did in 18, or excuse me, what you did for this year when you decided in 18.
Right.
So this will change and mirror whatever the town does.
and just a final comment, this will be followed by a marketing plan as well. I think you guys know that, and the board will review that and then get a chance to approve it or not. So that's the next step after we complete the operating plan piece.
Sorry, there was one more comment I had. There was and I apologize, I didn't write down the page number on this, but I believe it was covered somewhere. It's talking about moving buildings, like the potential of how that will affect the budget.
So
Moving buildings.
this building is for sale. So if it were sold, we would have to move and that could have a bit of an impact. So we'd have to come back possibly. Depends on what we do. I'm working on some other elements there, but I'll bring that up at the next board meeting.
That will be for sure solved by the next board meeting. Because by the next board meeting, we'll have another lease signed or we'll be getting kicked out.
Yeah, because it's due in October.
I don't know if this was covered at all. On education conferences, we had a pretty significant uptick. It was about 14.5. So what, 40% of the budget? And it's under education and conferences. So are we doing significantly more education, or is that significantly more conferences, or?
So I believe that includes the cost for doing more board development, as board development training, staff development training, and CEO development training. So kind of what we talked about a while back, where we were getting 3 different bids. That's what we're talking
So
about.
not conferences, it would be more education.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, we did increase, let me back up. So for Destinations International and ESTO, those are things where honestly, even some of our board members probably should attend some of those, just to get better insights into what's really going on in our industry and what kind of the key hot points are. And it would be very beneficial if you guys are ever interested in that. So we built more into the budget so that more of our team could attend those events, because I really believe that that would help them.
Just
Give them
I just remember it was one of the hotspot controversies when I first got on the board, that there was a significant contingent of people who said we were wasting money at conferences.
No,
I don't know if you remember that, but there was like, why are we doing all this travel? Why
But I
we-
think that's always like in every.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty
I think
true.
that's pretty across the board.
So then do we feel ready to approve this to send it on to the town? Then I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 business park operating plan.
I'll second it.
Any comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, I will take your votes. All right, the operating plan has been approved to move on to town and county approval. And do you think the town will do it? Is it too late to get on the 10th, or have to go to the next one probably?
We've already gotten our packets Tuesday. We might be able to get them on. I can check with Jackie tomorrow.
Last year, you guys did a study session first with it.
Yeah,
And then
we did. So you'll probably be able to get on the study session for next time.
Next time, okay.
But I would talk to Jackie like tomorrow, and it might be too late.
Okay, let's talk to Jackie, and then, and last time the county just did it in their
they did a consent agenda.
consent agenda, so,
Yeah, they pretty much follow our lead if there's.
okay, very good. So moving on, there'll just be the, our consent agenda. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the August 6th, 2019 regular meeting?
Motion to approve.
Any, seconds?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll take your votes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the consent agenda has passed. Any board comment? None? I guess we'll see you next time. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, thank you.
I can't believe this is a year ago now, but if you guys remember last year, there was a mix-up for that study session where we didn't get an invite or
Yeah.
something, so we can just make sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, I mean, I know it's kind of already set, although we don't have the agenda, so I was just checking to see if you had it sent us yet.
Yeah, so there was,
Um,
yeah, we.
I'm just trying to remember what we have on the study session, I can't think of.
Yeah, so there was like a lot of questions asked, and we obviously weren't there to answer them. It was like, it was just a misunderstanding, but I just, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I-
No,
Sitting in the audience.
That's the only thing. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, just check with Jackie tomorrow.
You just have to
I'm
have
sure
it.
they already have it set, but we don't have it yet, so it could stick it on there.